Bow bow banger management fantasy hockey podcast. Whoa.
Whoa.
Woo! What happened there?
Whoa.
Wow. Okay.
I try to spice it up sometimes. I'm either giving a wow or a woo 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 or something else. And today was a something else.
Whoa.
Whoa.
There's absolutely something else. Welcome in, everybody, to Banger Management, the fantasy hockey podcast with your esteemed hosts, Jake, Josh, and Kevin.
Woohoo.
Today, that's more like it, is our Week 9 Hot Topics and Mailbag episode. I tried to say Mailbag and Hot Topics last time, and I was reprimanded. That sounds more serious than it is. Josh just said, hey, no, say Hot Topics first, so I did. And it stuck with me. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. You can see the link to all of our socials in the podcast description as well, so be sure to give those a follow. If you follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will be notified when all the episodes go live, and it helps us out. So everybody wins.
Community grows, more content for everybody. Woohoo!
Exactly.
Woohoo!
And the better we get. So help
too.
us help you, helping us help
Exactly.
you.
Exactly what Jake said. He's been saying it forever.
Yes.
He's been saying it as long as hills have been a thing, which are almost as old as money. So if you know, you know. If you listen to one of those recent episodes.
Yes. You can come here for the hockey, stay for the IQ points.
Stay for the topography.
It's a good word, actually.
Yeah.
I'm impressed, Josh.
Thank you. I think it means what I think it means. Okay. Let's get into our hot topics. So these are topics that are hot around the league. I kind of just try and internalize what everyone seems to be talking about and then spit it out into our hot topics so that in case if we got a question about it, then I don't put it on here. So I try to cover more topics. Anyways, let's get into it. Firstly, this has been a hot topic all season. Luke Hughes / Dougie Hamilton, or should I put another slash and mention Simon Nemec? Because what the heck is going on here? I know Hughes owners aren't happy. I know Hamilton owners aren't happy. Nemec owners aren't happy. Nobody's running away with this spot, and anyone who has the spot is doing nothing with it. What is going on with supposedly what should be one of the hottest power play one quarterback spots in the league?
I mean, in my opinion, I think first of all, the loss of Jack Hughes definitely impedes on the success of this, power play unit. We talked about, Chychrun and Brett getting more success out of this situation because they end up playing together, and I think we've already seen that, them playing together has made both of their fantasy values go up. We've seen Chychrun kind of. And Timo as well. Like the fact that they stacked that top line, everybody there is really growing in value. And I mean, we highlighted him as a buy low and a continued buy low even after it didn't pop off right away. So I hope you were able to do that because right now you're reaping the rewards. But nonetheless, I think the fact that this power play is less good means that, the power play defensemen on this are also less good. And the fact that they're already splitting adds to that as well. If I had to pick one guy rest of season, I think I'm still leaning Dougie just because he has the shot volume that, Luke Hughes doesn't necessarily always have. Nemec, I'm not even putting in the conversation. I think that was just like a little blip for a moment when he scored a hat trick and they were like, all right, what can this guy do? I'm waiting for the trade that gets them Quinn Hughes, to be honest. I feel like that's what's going to happen. I think either Nemec is going the other way or Dougie or both, and Quinn Hughes will be the future power play one quarterback for the New Jersey Devils. Putting that into the universe. Not that that's I feel like a hot take at this point, but yeah,
that'd be crazy.
I don't know.
If that happens, I think Luke becomes better in a way because I think it's like, and I never would say that because they're just going to put them both on power play one.
They will not both be on power play one.
Because they're like a trio of brothers. I think it's like they're going to do it. Don't forget, Luke got paid.
Guilt themselves into putting Luke on PP1 and bump off like who are they going to bump off? It's going to be a Mercer or Timo.
Yeah, I think that's not like the bump off is not the crazy part. I think it's more like I feel like teams don't like having two defensemen, but I don't think there's any actual player stopping that from happening. Yeah. But anyways, we're getting a bit of ahead of ourselves with this. Do you like if this Quinn Hughes trade does happen, is this an off-season thing, or you think it could happen mid-season?
I think it's most likely off-season. Could happen during the season, depending on how sale-happy Vancouver gets. Like we talked about in a previous episode, that Sherwood is probably getting traded. I could see Garland getting traded. So all of those assets, I think only Pedersen and potentially Besser are the guys that are safe on this team. Don't forget, Quinn Hughes is the captain too. Like the fact is just that we've already seen the reports and the rumors for years before that he wants to play with his brothers, and they're not going to play in Vancouver. So the only logical thing is he's going to play for New Jersey, and his contract has 2 or 3 more years left. So I think they know that if they wait longer, they might get nothing for him, because at the end of the contract he'll just sign with them for free. So might as well try to trade him now, and the value might not even be 100% because they know that the impending free agency. So. But this question is not about Quinn Hughes and what he's going to do on New Jersey. So Luke Hughes and Dougie, I think Luke Hughes is, I don't want to say a drop, but when he's not on PP1, he's a drop. The fact is he's on there every other game, it feels like. So it's a tough situation to be. If I had to own one of them, I want to own Dougie, but I'm not really happy
Dougie's
about
also
either
been
of that.
awful.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I think better days are ahead for Dougie, especially when Jack Hughes comes back.
Yeah, I'd characterize it as Nemec is not rosterable. I know he's been one of the most popular ads lately. He's a stream, yeah, but I mean, he's not
he
gonna,
shoots and he blocks sometimes.
Yeah, okay. He's streamable, but he's not hold worthy. Luke Hughes is someone that I'm really not happy having on my team. Like, it feels bad dropping him. It depends who's available, but like, Brant Clark's getting reps at Power Play 1. I would drop Hughes for Clark in a second.
Would you drop Hughes for like Aaron Ekblad?
No, because I don't think Ekblad's worth rostering either. So I may as well go with the one who actually has some PP1 exposure. But there's a lot of guys lower roster than Hughes that would take for him. And then Dougie is like, he's kind of in a similar boat for me with my team as Svech was at the start of the year, where he's just absolutely awful straight Euros. But there's some guys you just don't drop. You wait it. Like, if you drop, you lose all the value. If you wait, I mean, you need to have the luxury to be able to wait it out and have essentially a dead roster spot. But he's still putting up some shots and some trickling of backcats, so it's not completely dead. And brighter days have to be ahead because he's gotten almost 0 points. So it can only go up from here.
I think I'm going to go Dougie, Luke, and then a distance later, Simon Nemec. However, I'm not like totally out on Luke, I think, the way you guys are, because like, look, this is still a Hughes brother who they drafted super high that they want to get going. So if there's no, like, and this team's winning, like, they're not losing, right? And they're winning.
There's definitely hard-fought battles though.
Yeah, it's like an amalgamation of like Power Play 1. So like, yes, for fantasy, we want there to be.
Okay.
Yeah, well, here we go.
Typography, amalgamation.
Exactly. Talismanic. We know words. We know the best words, and because of that, I'm thinking that Luke's gonna get a bit more looks moving forward. I don't think anyone's gonna necessarily beat out anybody to the point that you're happy to own any of these guys. That being said, I still think Dougie's safer. Therefore, I would choose him first. Let's go to the next hot topic.
Let's do it. Next, we've got Juuse Saros of the Nashville Predators. I think people who grabbed him this year were banking on him dropping in the draft because of how awful he was last year, and they're like, Nashville can't possibly be as bad as they were last year. And then Nashville's like, hold my beer, we're going to be even worse. So people are wondering, is Saros droppable?
I mean, listen, I feel like he's been one of the guys that I've had the most questions about in the Discord lately, because if you're owning Saros, it's one of those situations that you feel bad dropping, but every week he's just tanking your goalie category. So what do you even do? It's like Allmark earlier in the season and Allmark a couple nights ago. So it's really tough when you're in the situation where this team is bad, guys. Like, Nashville is bad. They're going to be in the running for the lottery again. They're going to be selling assets at the deadline. And Saros is, like, the only like speculation about Saros' value going up, I feel like, is if he gets traded, which is a long shot at this point. So
I don't see it happening.
No. So I think, honestly, like, you're kind of stuck with him, and you're gonna feel a huge sense of relief if you drop him and you just end up streaming from that position. It really depends. If you're in a points league, I don't feel bad dropping at all, because most likely he's getting you a lot of negatives. If you're in a categories leagues, like, he can ruin your categories with one bad game. So I want to sell if you can, but obviously know who's going to be buying Saros at this point. He's just throwing in a trade at best. And I'm thinking, like, if there's guys like Jet Greaves on your waivers, like,
I was gonna say, let's, like, quickly before Jakub will say his piece, but also, like, and then we'll move on. But why don't we try and come up with the threshold of goalie that you would drop Saros for?
Okay, Stuart Skinner.
Yeah, I think Skinner has more upside than Saros does.
I'd rather have Skinner. What about UPL?
That's tough. I feel like I'd rather Saros than UPL.
I think I'd rather UPL.
What about you, Jakey?
Probably Saros.
Okay,
At least Saros is the clear starter. UPL has to fight with, like, Colton Ellis and Alex Lyon.
I just want to say one thing about this, and just, like, there are people who are still not rostered in over 10% of leagues this year, goalies that I guarantee you by the end of the year will be 40 plus. We don't know them yet. We don't know who they are, but Wallstedt
tell
is
us.
one of them.
Yeah.
Wallstedt is one of them
You'll
that
have to
came out of
listen.
nowhere and has been amazing. Like, it's not over. Like, it always happens like around January. That's like when it's like gets really difficult, but this is year after year after year. And like, look, perhaps this is the one year where I'm wrong about this, but like right now, like, had I missed out on picking up Wallstedt for Saros as an example, like, I'd be pretty like sad. So if you
same with
see
Askarov.
there's like, yeah, exactly. Askarov, maybe even Wedgwood. I'm in another league right now, and I know we're getting off topic. I just want to like kind of hammer this point home. I have Skinner, Shesterkin, and Vladar, and that's like I would have dropped Skinner and Vladar in a heartbeat, knowing what Wallstedt was going to do. So this is to say that my perspective: don't drop Saros for. You may think drop him for a streamer, and I get that, but I think it's like if you see even a blip of potential future of your goalie being a starter, and it's not always easy to tell, but if you see that, plus he's a good streamer, that's where I'm doing it for sure.
The biggest question is obviously like your league format when it comes to goalies. It really influences a lot. If he's your third goalie and you can safely run two goalies, I'd just cut him and move on. I'd pick up an extra D or an extra forward. But let's say he's your second goalie and you need two goalies, then you have to make the decision of, okay, am I cutting him to like stream Devin Cooley and then, you know, whoever else gets hot after that, like the Husos or the whatever? Like, would you rather do that, put yourself in that situation, or just hold Saros through the downs right now? Because I think right now I'd probably just cut him and then stream better production. And yeah, you have to dedicate the ads on your weekly basis to, you know, get production from the goalie position, but it's still going to be more productive than holding Saros and just getting negative numbers or just bad goalie categories. So like, would you drop him for Jerry? I would.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. See, that's exactly who I was going to say, because it's like not super high rostered. You know, Jerry on Yahoo is rostered in 39% of leagues, and there is a potential for him to be the top goalie there. Another one, maybe Brandon Bussey, because there is a chance that he's the top goalie there.
I mean,
but like
that's
DeSmith,
like the Cooley
no.
situation. It's like you have to make a decision on it. Are you streaming it for like multiple weeks or?
That's what I'm saying, though, is like Bussey has the power to be their guy. Cooley, I don't think is going to overtake from.
Yeah,
there you go. Cooley, I don't think is overtaking from Wolf. So that's kind of where I'm at. Is if you see like potential for more longevity, that's when I'm doing it, and I'm like moving on.
Would you drop a Freddie Anderson though?
No, because Freddie's had such bad injury history, and like at least with Bussey, it's like there's an unknown of how good Bussey can be.
Yeah, there's potential there. Yeah, exactly.
Would you drop for Comrie or Schmid at this point?
No.
No, because they have like a time horizon that's guaranteed.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Okay,
that's where I'm at. The longevity is the important part.
Our next hot topic that we've also kind of talked about a bit: Devin Cooley / Dustin Wolf. Do you have any worry as a Wolf owner that Cooley's stealing starts, or is it just a temporary thing and Wolf will get it back soon?
In my head, this is simple. It's a temporary thing. Like we saw Wolf be amazing for them last season. Like he single-handedly kept them in games that almost made a playoff push for them. I think the amount of games that he's played is catching up to him a little bit, and the team in front of him is just not good. So I think he's definitely susceptible to bad performances, and Cooley has been a bright spot for them. So that's nice, but I don't expect this to last more than a week or two until he's back to getting all the starts.
Yeah, you know, if Devin Cooley was like a high drafted pick, 22 years old, like I'd be scared, except he's 28 and like
he's older than I thought.
Yeah, and Wolf is 24. Like this is their goalie of the future. Like they're not going to make him irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Fully agree. Okay, moving on to our next one. John Carlson / Jakub Chychrun. Has Chychrun officially taken that power play 1 spot? Is Carlson cooked? What do you guys think?
So when you went into the upside down last episode, we dove into this a little bit, Kevin and I, about how what I think is kind of sus here in general is that both defensemen have been able to be so elite offensively. I don't see that sticking around. To answer your question directly, I think Chychrun is the much safer play to stay on power play 1. Whether or not Carlson is there, I think Chychrun's got a concrete spot. Now, I also think that their combined point totals over 1.1 points per game over the last few weeks, each player, not going to stick around. So you can expect regression for both. Kevin mentioned that Chychrun's a sell high. I kind of agree on that, but I still think Chychrun's one of like my top 7 or 8 defensemen I want to own, and Carlson's not in that territory.
Yeah, I fully agree. At this point, Chychrun's a top tier defenseman, and Carlson, I mean, I don't like to sell low, but I don't have much hopes of him getting passing Chychrun in the depth chart at this point.
Yeah.
I think the main takeaway from this is Chychrun is guaranteed that PP1 spot, and whether Carlson is the second D on it or not is up for debate. But Chychrun is going to be there no matter what, and I think he's like easily a top 7, top 8 defenseman rest of season. And right now, if I have John Carlson on my team, I'm trying to trade him absolutely, because his production right now is not going to be representative of what his production will be moving forward. Because right now, if you look at his averages, they've been nuts recently. So try to trade him right now before the averages start dwindling, and his value goes dwindling. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Fully agree. Sell Carlson while he still has value. And the last hot topic is Robert Thomas of the St. Louis Blues. The whole Blues team has been awful. Thomas is a guy who's been 1.1 points per game in the past. He's been an elite points guy, even though he doesn't have much cat coverage other than faceoff wins. But now he's not doing the points. So people are like, why am I holding this guy? Especially a pure C in a lot of leagues. There's a lot of really good ones available. So do you think that he's worth holding on to? Is he a potential drop? Is he a sell low on? Is he a hold and he's going to turn it around? What do you think?
I think he's in the buy low territory more than anything. Like, I totally get why people are scared. St. Louis has been absolutely awful. I'm very excited to round up how our divisional breakdowns are going, because this was a catastrophic mistake by me, it's looking like. But I've had some other good ones, like the Jets not being as good, the Sharks being better than we
Toronto
thought.
Being worse.
Yeah, Toronto, exactly.
Yeah,
but
you had
this
some
is
good ones for
bad.
sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm not really thinking they're going to get much better. But his point production right now, under 0.8 points per game, like, I think that will improve. So I don't believe in him as, as elite of a center as I thought at the beginning of the year. But I'd still actually be looking to buy as opposed to a sell.
Do you think he
low.
can be point per game rest of season?
Yeah, I don't see that out of the cards for him. I mean, I guess, like, the difference is that he's been on better St. Louis teams than he's on now, but like 1.16 last year, like 0.16 points per game difference, or even 0.95. I think that's kind of where he's going to be hovering around. Like, however many games he plays this season, let's say he plays 70 games, he'll get between 66 to 74 points.
Okay. What do you think, Kevin?
I mean, I think there's definitely better days ahead. I just don't want him on my team. I think he's already one-dimensional enough that he's not the type of player that I usually draft in my fantasy leagues. But I do like observe the value of him getting a point per game or more. But I just don't want him on my team. And the fact that he's not even close to that production right now is just a guy that is on waivers in a lot of leagues. And if you own him, you're not happy with him, especially where you drafted him. So, like, would I drop Robert Thomas for Josh Norris? I think I would. And that feels crazy, but if you're in a shallow enough league, and the replacement value is high, that I know that even if Norris gets hurt, I can just pick up somebody else that's like somewhat good as well, I would do that. So that's kind of where my mind is at. But do I think there's better days ahead for the Blues in general? Yes. When that happens, is it a month or two down the line? I don't know. And right now, like, if you can afford to just wait along on your fantasy teams, then yes. But I don't usually want to wait along. So I'm either trying to trade or make a pickup.
Yeah,
they're bad. I don't think they'll be this bad. Like, I think they will get better, and like it's
we're 2 months into the season, so it's like at a certain point you have a sample size that you can use as a point of reference for moving forward. So
yeah, but I mean, like, look at them literally last year, right? They were awful
I know.
or look at them the year they won the Stanley Cup. So it's not out of the question that they turn it around. I mean, usually there's a catalyst, right? Last year both times it was a new coach, right? And they're not going to fire Monty. So if they want some sort of catalyst to get them going, they're going to have to find it internally or maybe make a trade or something. But yeah, he can only get better, but he's also not like, they don't have a great playoff schedule. He's not a great cat coverage guy. So it's not a guy I'm rushing to go try and buy low on pretty much. But if you have him, I would expect better stuff moving forward. With your example, Kevin, of dropping for Norris, I think that objectively I'd rather have Norris on my team, but I don't know if I'd have the balls to make the move. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I think that Norris is going to be more productive for you as long as he's healthy.
I would exercise every possible power inside me to try to trade him before dropping him. But if I was back against the wall, like, I'm making that swap.
Yeah. Okay, so that was our hot topics. Let's do the mailbag. We're gonna kind of rapid fire some of these, and let's just do it. Let's dive right in. So, Sedated Sleeper on Reddit asked, "Who is the Habs' #1 goalie for the rest of the year?"
I just wanted to
Montembeault.
time that by showing my jersey.
Nice. I should put my jersey on.
Yeah, I'm going Monty.
I think I'm gonna go Monty.
They're gonna ride the hot hand, but I think at a certain point, Monty just is going to be the hot hand for a long period.
I mean,
so
I remember like 2 weeks ago, I was arguing with you guys. I was like, it's Montembeault. Even when Dobish was on his hot streak, I'm like, they're gonna keep going back, deferring to Montembeault. And you know, look, even when Dobish was playing hot, I still had a feeling that it was gonna be Montembeault. So I think even if he has his ups and downs, it's gonna be him.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna really be like a 1A, 1B at the end of the when it's all said and done. Like I don't think I really thought Monty was one of the best 0G guys. I don't believe that at all anymore. It's gonna be volatile, and the Habs are missing irrelevant fantasy pieces, but very important IRL pieces. So I'm not expecting it to be smooth sailing at all over the next little bit for their goalies. So kind of gonna be Monty, slight edge, but it's gonna be a pain in the behind to own both. Well, either
Definitely.
either one. Yeah.
All right. Overthinking Freedom on Reddit asked, "Is Yan Kuznetsov going to be sticking with the big club? Is he worth holding in Dynasty for hits, blocks with some shots on goal and points upside?" So this is a pretty deep cut question. So I dove into it, and Yan Kuznetsov was drafted by Calgary in the second round, 50th overall in the 2020 NHL draft. And then I was looking at his stats. He's putting up really solid hits and blocks, and he's played kind of every single game for the past month. I think he's definitely sticking with the big club. He's actually surpassed 2 of their defensemen on the depth chart. He's now their 4th most time on ice defenseman. So yes, he's going to stick with the team. In terms of dynasty, I mean, I don't think this guy's got much points upside or necessarily shots upside, but hits and blocks, he seems to be solid. I don't know. He's not like a must hold or anything in dynasty. You hold him as long as his bangers are good, and then he's just a streamer pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I know that this guy just got hurt, but I think it could be like Leanne Bichelle vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So nothing too crazy. It depends how deep your dynasty league is, I suppose, but you're going to get hits and blocks, and that's about it. He's no Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Let's move on to the next one. Intelligent Invite 3 on Reddit asked, "My goalies right now are Markstrom and Allen, and the best goalies available on waivers are Jarry and Devin Cooley. Should I drop a player for one of those goalies?"
Okay, so my take on this, I hate owning 2 goalies on the same team in general, especially when it's like a battle of like who's going to be less bad that day. And that's kind of what it's shaping up to be in New Jersey. Even though they're still winning games, it's the goalies are totally all over the place there. I would actually just simply rather drop Jake Allen and pick up one of probably Jarry.
Yeah.
That's how I would handle things.
That's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, just drop Allen for Jarry, I think is the clear answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Grossbuster on Reddit asked, "What are your thoughts on Jamie Benn and Josh Norris rest of season?" Josh Norris we've spoken about in depth already. As long as he's healthy, he's the GOAT. Jamie Benn,
exactly.
I don't have... Yeah. Jamie Benn, I don't have much interest in. I know he's putting up solid numbers so far, but he has no chance at power play 1. Look, I mean, in a deep enough league, you keep him to round out your roster, but I don't think he's going to be anything special.
Yeah,
and Josh Norris, if you want more insight on him, I would go back and listen to some of the previous episodes where we touched on him a lot, especially the last episode. But I think he's 0.8 points per game, double-double, will get you 6-7 face-off wins, and I think that he can be very valuable for fantasy when healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, Paltry Boot on Reddit asked, "I have decent goalies, Wallstead, Vejmelka, and Vladar, but with my league settings, which are wins are worth 5, shutouts are worth 5, goals against are -1, and saves are only worth 0.1, they seem to get me more negative than positive points. Why am I holding 3 goalies? Should I just drop 1 or 2 to pick up skaters who can get me more points instead?" So I think the biggest question with this is, does your league have minimum goalie starts, right? Because that'll depend... that'll affect how many goalies. Like if you find that your goalies are not getting you points and you don't need to have them and you think you can get more points from skaters, and another thing, if you have like util or like you're not gonna have to bench skaters essentially, then yeah, I would definitely drop at least 1 goalie, possibly 2. There was before we adjusted our league settings in our league of record, we only had 2 minimum goalie starts, and I think it was my first year. Kevin and I realized that like, why is every team holding like 3 goalies, even 2 goalies? And like, I think we went up against each other in the playoffs. Each of us had 1 goalie, and we were like,
we literally changed the meta.
Yeah, exactly. And then we had to change the rule to have more required goalie starts because it was just there was no reason to hold goalies. So it definitely depends on your league settings. But with what it sounds like, Wallsted's the only one you have to keep. The other ones I think are dispensable.
Yeah, the problem with this is that, like, I mean, when you think about it, it's pretty brutal to own goalies in this league. Like, you have to get above, like, he has to get 11 saves to break even,
On a goal,
right?
yeah.
Pretty much. Or sorry, he just get 10 saves. So essentially, like, once he's at a 90 save percentage, then he doesn't have any negatives that game, and then you have to hope for a win.
Yeah,
So to
that's
me,
crazy.
this is a recipe for this is a recipe for just simply having two goalies or even one and a stream against good matchups. To me, Wallstedt by the countryest of country miles, which nobody commented how many city miles are in a country mile, and I did my own research. It's not a real thing. But anyways,
Okay.
all this to say, if somebody does know the answer, if somebody does know the pop culture answer there, please do let us know. So Wallstedt, Vemelkov, Ladar in that order for me. But like, this is almost just like, depending on how many, like if you got a certain amount of ads you can do, that's a way to make it work. I would just try to stream the game for the second goalie almost, because this is brutal. I'm in points leagues where like it's really goalie heavy and I have 3 and I'm happy with that. This is a very punishing setting that you guys have. So yeah, I mean, I'm scared to own 3 goalies here. I would simply want to ride with 2.
Yeah. Okay, next we've got Awil on Discord asked, who has the higher upside when they return from injury, Matt Duchene or Josh Norris? Josh Norris.
Josh Norris by far. Next
by
question.
far,
Josh Norris
yeah.
by far.
Literally,
Yeah.
it's always Josh Norris if healthy.
I'm not a Duchene fan at all. What he did last year feels like an anomaly. Like he was a point per game and somehow did like nothing else. So I'm not high on Duchene at all this season. I think Josh Norris like blows him out of the water.
Do you agree with that in a points league though? Just because I don't know if he identified in a bangers or points league.
It doesn't matter.
League,
Duchene doesn't have power play one, so I have no interest.
Fair. But the gap's a lot smaller. And if it is a bangers league, I will. Then I would say absolutely Josh Norris. If it's a points league, I'd say Josh Norris.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
It's a slam dunk for me in both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joshua Fearon on Discord asked, are there any picks you made in the draft where you definitely should have picked the guy who was taken right after? So I went through the draft ahead of time to look at my big blunders, and there were actually only 4. We're talking like the immediate pick right after, not like if there was someone picked later. So here are my 4 big immediate after blunders. First round, I took JT Miller instead of Kirill Kaprizov. Massive blunder. Luckily, I traded my way out of it. Next, in the 6th round, I took Svechnikov over Marchenko, another huge blunder. 7th round, I took Hamilton over Heiskanen, another huge blunder. And then 11th round, I took Vander Kane over Mark Stone. So those are my big 4 that I had ready for that one. The rest, I'm the best.
So I'm going to name 3. Should have taken Joel Eriksson Ek over Uri Slavkovsky. I probably, at this point, I think I could say I should have taken Matthew Tkachuk over Dylan Holloway. We'll see how that shakes out. And I mean, not that I'm super happy, would have been super happy here, but had I taken Tyler Toffoli over Cam Fowler, there's a slight chance he would have still been on my team. I suppose that counts as well. I'll see if I could come. Oh, Dorofeev over Perfetti. Wow, this is so depressing. Joshua Fearon, why would you do this to us? This is horrible.
Yeah.
So I looked at my draft and I actually don't have any big guys that I was like, dang, I really missed out. But if I scroll down to like round 14, I took Romanov instead of Gudis. Gudis went 2 picks after. So that feels like a pretty big L given what Romanov was doing and now that he's out for the season. And then if I scroll down to round, where is it? Round 17, I drafted UPL with pick number 230. And then a few picks later in the round were Spencer Knight and Jet Greaves, who, I mean, now I have Jet Greaves on my team, but Spencer Knight looks like he would have been a stud if I drafted him instead of UPL. And then round 20, so last round, I drafted Joseph Wall, who is good now, but I didn't have the luxury of keeping him on my IR because I lost Brady, Trocheck, Josh Norris, everybody else. And Emil Heineman went 1 pick later, so that could have been nice.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No.
All right, so pretty much what Kevin's saying is his draft was perfect and he doesn't make mistakes until the 17th round.
But I also don't have 3 first round picks on my team like Josh, so You win some,
you lose some.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Frank on Discord asked, what's going on with Saros and Hyman? Will they turn things around? We already discussed Saros as a hot topic. For Hyman, I'm not worried at all. He's power play 1 with McDavid and Draisaitl on Edmonton. He's banging. So you got to remember that he's coming back from a long-term injury. He missed camp and all that. You got to give him some time to marinate.
Yep. I will say though that I feel like the take that I gave on Zach Hyman when he first came back and we had only 1 game of sample size and everybody was just
with
like
the 11 hits.
He's the next big thing. Like he's the next Kiefer Sherwood. And I kind of said it was going to be more like 1 to 2 hits a game. Seems like it's going to be way more accurate than what we saw in that first game. So yeah, don't expect the 11 hits, but I think you can expect a lot of better days ahead in terms of points and shots and just power play production.
Yeah.
When
Roslovic's
and
healthy,
Saros, we covered him, but like get him off your roster. Hyman, I don't actually want to get off my roster.
Yeah, with Roslovic coming back when that happens, I still think Hyman's deployment on the power play is safe. So definitely like could be a decent buy low opportunity. But as Kevin said, the hits, nope. 11, that's not going to be a thing regularly. So
Yeah. Okay, Joshua Fearon on Discord asked, are you more inclined to pick up players on teams you're a fan of? What about teams you don't like? Or does fantasy value trump all?
This is
I'll go
absolutely
quickly.
your burner account. This is 100% your burner account. Like last week too, Joshua Fearon asked a question: are long-term injured players worth the same amount as when they were healthy? And like this is top players like Stone to Chuck Hedman. This is you. Like stop this.
I mean, it is a bit uncanny that it's all stuff that I'm just like so known for. But to answer the question, main thing is fantasy value trumps all. Definitely, I don't avoid players on teams I don't like. Like I've had Matthews on my team most years, and I'm a Habs fan. But I will say I do try and avoid players on the teams I do like, specifically the Habs. But that's mostly because we haven't been good for years, and I'm always like, I'm so emotionally invested in the Habs that I'm like, I don't want to let them disappoint me on the ice and also on my phone. So that's the only reason. But at the end of the day, it's still fantasy value trumps all.
Yeah, I don't look at this at all.
I have like this complete unbiased opinion when I'm talking fantasy. When I'm talking fantasy, I want to win fantasy. So whether that's guys on my team or on my favorite team or guys on the team that I hate the most, like doesn't make a difference to me. I'm just trying to do what's best for my fantasy team. So
yeah. However, Joshua Fearon, if for example, you're a Habs fan and you're in a league with a bunch of other Habs fans, the best thing you could do is like know that someone's paying a premium for those players. Like I speak about this a bit. It's about knowing your league mates. If you know someone's going to buy because they're a fan of that team, and a lot of people do that, so it's a very good question. That's kind of like a thing that I look for when trading to people.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, Genome on Discord asked, you guys talk about points percentage, which is a player's points over team's goals. Why do you look at that stat as opposed to IPP percentage, which is player points over team's goals while they're on the ice? And I think for me, mainly it's that I want to know how talismanic a player is to their team. And I find that their points over the total points is more indicative of that as opposed to just when they're on the ice. When they're on the ice, it's how, are they the best player on the ice?
How good of a player are they?
Yeah, exactly. But in general, it's how important are they to their team? And I find that that's a more useful stat.
Yeah, that's kind of like a bit too plus minus E for me in a sense. You know what I mean? So it's like when it's all said and done, like yes, when a player's on the ice and things are happening, like that does mean a lot. But in general, if like the team is able to score a lot of goals, like it could be a thing to look at. Nashville, we spoke on our Would You Rathers episode, like the previous Would You Rathers. It was Kirill Kaprizov versus Mikko Rantanen. I'm pretty confident Dallas is going to score more goals. You know what I mean? So the pie is bigger, but how much bigger is Rantanen's or is Kaprizov's slice as opposed to Rantanen? You know what I mean? So this is kind of where things come into play, and that's why I think we look at it this way.
Yeah. Okay, Jordari on Discord asked, if you could be any archetype of player in the NHL, what would you choose? And examples are like power forward, skilled winger, goal scorer, that kind of fun stuff.
I'd be a goalie. And when I was younger, I always wanted to be a hockey goalie. So
that's crazy.
When I used to play with my friends in the street, I'd always be a goalie. When I'm in NHL, when I used to play NHL, my be a pro used to be a goalie, and it was really boring insane. Because like you're just sitting there most of the game. But I was having fun with it. So yeah,
that's actually one of the most insane things I've ever heard. So that's awesome.
I know.
Yeah, I played goalie, and that was not great when when meeting girls when I was younger, because the whole thing was like, oh, if his name starts with a J and he's a goalie, run girl. So that was not fun. But I swear I'm normal. Anyways,
You have a podcast. You're not normal.
Point taken. I've always liked the whole power forward vibe. I was a pretty big Rick Nash fan when I was younger, and I thought that he was like a cool player to model my game after when I played street hockey. So I always liked the power forward vibes. And then that would be coupled with playmaker, because Josh and I used to play some street hockey together, and it would always be him scoring and me passing. So
we played ice hockey together too. We played intramural.
We did. It's true. It's true. The glory days. So yeah, it would mainly be me
right now. Like I'm just on the other side of the ice with my goalie, just like standing there, nothing's happening.
Yeah, I currently
Really
play beer league, and I've been playing my whole life, and I'm very much the skilled winger. I like to dipsy doodle and make dangles. I don't have the best shot, so it's mostly dangling. I'm not the best at back checking, so it's very much
I like moving my stick around, but that's pretty much it.
I like to score goals. Look, I'm averaging like 2 goals a game in my beer league, and I always say after a game, I'm like, man, if I just had myself in fantasy, then I'd be putting up crazy points. Don't look at my plus minus or my any category coverage, but other than that, so definitely undersized skilled winger is what I would go with.
You'd never make it on Jiky's fantasy team, but a loss.
No, no chance. No chance.
It's very, very Maxim Shabanov of you.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Alexander on Discord asked, are the days of McDavid being way better than everyone else in points over, or are there other guys closing the gap on him? If so, would you trade him in a dynasty league for an emerging superstar, plus while he's still the biggest name out there? So kind of the vibe is like, obviously McDavid just has that name value. Like, I mean, over the last couple of years, McKinnon's up there with him, right? And like in terms of pure points, Kucherov too. But like, there's that like, McDavidness, right? Where he's like such a tier above everyone else. And I think Alexander's asking like, can you get some value out of that by like flipping McDavid for like a Bedard plus or like a Celebrini plus, where the McDavid to one of those guys downgrade is not actually that big of a downgrade?
I would do that trade. Like I would rather Bedard plus. Like the plus has got to be good. Like
in
would
my
you
mind,
do it?
Oh, sorry, I was gonna give you one.
I was gonna say Celebrini and Eklund for McDavid.
That's not enough.
No.
For me, it would be like, would you do like Celebrini plus like Lucas Raymond for McDavid? We're talking a dynasty league, right?
Dynasty. We're talking dynasty, yeah.
So, like, I have no doubt Celebrini is going to be a stud for like the next decade, but McDavid could also be a stud for the next decade. So, like,
I don't
see a
right?
world. Yeah, exactly. I don't see a world where McDavid is like on the ice playing healthy and not scoring like 120 points. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see that. I do think there's a couple guys that we mentioned that are in the same tier as him, but we're at the point where in Dynasty League and you're guaranteed to have McDavid on your roster every year. Like, that's just so valuable. If you could trade him for, it would need to be like Celebrini or Bedard. Like, that's the next category of like next superstars. If you can get one of those plus another like, top 30 player, then I'd consider it. But I'm not doing it for one and like an extra average guy. You know what I mean?
Would you do McDavid for Bedard and Demidov? Ooh.
That you got to call your shot on that one.
I was gonna say Demidov has proven nothing yet in the NHL. So
I'm taking Bedard and Demidov, and I think like just alone Bedard has 8 more years than McDavid theoretically if they retire at the same age. You know what I mean? Bedard was drafted in 2023, McDavid in 2015. Like, that's a big difference, guys.
I want to give
Demidov could be sick.
Demidov could be sick. I want to give a small tangent for the people that are listening that also do fantasy football. In 2023, I traded away. I took over a squad in Dynasty, and the squad was in shambles. So I traded away my quarterback in a super flex league. I traded away Jared Goff and like Deontay Johnson, who was like a wide receiver 2 that year. And I traded for Devon Achane and Jackson Smith and Jigba before they were good. Basically, these are guys that were like drafted really high, and then they're
never heard of any of these names.
And then they were drafted really high, and then they were basically not good their first rookie season. So it's kind of just like, okay, they were highly touted prospects, but they didn't like pop like immediately, and so their value like kind of like dwindled throughout the season in terms of like what we expect from them. But then I called my shot. I was just like, I do still believe in these prospects, and now Jackson Smith and Jigba is like the most he's like the wide receiver 1 in dynasty right now. So it's like trading for Demidov, and then he becomes like McDavid level kind of thing. So at some point, if you have an inkling, you got to call your shot. And I think I would do that trade for Demidov and Bedard. I think you got to call your shot.
I guess that's the idea in the question, right? Is like if you feel like the Bedard McDavid gap is not that big, that in dynasty, then you can take that type of shot to get an extra good player. So definitely, I definitely think.
Would you do it for like Bedard and Michkov, who was like supposed to be like the next generational talent there? Like I would not probably. So
I think Michkov's just having a down year. I still think he's going to be really, really good. I don't think he's that far off from Demidov.
All right, we should move on because we could talk about this forever.
Quick thing, honestly, first part of the question. Yes, the days of McDavid being better than everybody else are over.
But they've been over for a few years now. Like McKinnon is doing the same in Kucherov too. So
yeah,
100%.
Okay, Gino on Discord asked, would you guys be interested in running a banger management fantasy league next year with fans from the Discord? That is a great question. We will be doing that next year. So, Kevin, if you want to go into that a bit.
I was gonna say, like, we're working on this actively, but we will during the off season we're gonna put a lot of time and effort into establishing like what we want the banger management leagues to look like. In my opinion, in my head, how we run this is I want to have multiple leagues out there that are basically the same settings as our league of record, so that you guys can see like what it's like to play in a league that we play in terms of like the same settings and everything like that. And we'll just see how many people are interested. In the Discord, I've had a lot of people already say that they really want, banger management leagues out there. And then maybe we'll see if we have enough leagues that we can make. Maybe we'll create like a relegation system and a tiered based league standings where, the top players in every league move up and down, and we can have some fun with it. Like we're gonna hypothesize what works best and see how many people are interested. But next year, absolutely, we will be having banger management listener leagues. So stay tuned and listen. If you're interested in that, join the Discord right now, because we're gonna remember who were the OGs in there in the beginning and who were rocking with us, and then we'll see how it goes in the off season. But join the community. A lot of big stuff ahead, especially listener leagues.
Yeah, we got big plans for this. We really love doing this, and it's kind of fun to be saying this, but really, like, your support keeps us going and means a lot. So we're
like Tinkerbell.
Heard, yeah, there you go.
As long as you believe.
Sure, exactly. So
also wouldn't make it on Jakey's fantasy team.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah, too small. So keep, just give us a like on the videos and subscribe to the channel if you're listening. It really does help. So just to say, we really want to keep the community growing and just keep putting out content for years to come.
Yep. Next, we've got Mitch J on Discord asked, there's a team in my 3-keeper league that's already selling players for next year's draft picks. Is it too early to start buying if I'm in a playoff spot? How do you value future draft picks?
Okay, this is really a great question. I 2 years ago was in a spot where I was competitive, and then all the top teams started buying. You don't want to be the first buyer, okay? You also don't want to be the last buyer. If you could time it in such a way where I'm assuming January is going to be like after the fire sale starts and people are like, okay, I'm not competitive anymore, I got to get people off my team to prepare for next year, that's the sweet spot. So if you're the first guy, then you're kind of like setting the standard for the market. And then as time goes on and people realize their season is futile, what you're going to want to do is trade with that team or two of those teams. And then at the end of it, it's like, well, the seller is going to basically just like it's going to be like you're going to have to buy and probably overpay. That's at least the way I saw it working out. So my opinion, do not be first. Wait for a few transactions to happen and then dive in.
I actually feel differently. Like, and maybe this is just,
I just say F me for it. Sorry.
No, but I do a lot of negotiating, especially like, we're in peak season for fantasy football dynasty leagues where, you're trying to make the playoffs or bolster your team if you're a contender. And I like being first because I like having my pick of the litter in terms of like who I want to target to bolster my team. Because the longer you wait, the less options there are. And it's not like half the league is tanking usually. Usually you have like, 4 teams that are guaranteed the playoffs, 4 teams that are like trying to make the playoffs, and then you have like 1 team that's like been out of it for weeks, and then a couple teams that are like still have hope but are reluctant and in denial that their team sucks and they need to rebuild. So he's
talking about me.
You wanna? No, Jakey actually might make the playoffs. So listen, you're in the middle. You're in the middle there. But I want to be able to target the players on the worst teams that I want the most. And if I wait for other teams to make deals, then I don't have that opportunity anymore. So I value my opinion and like how I value these guys, and I don't want to overpay for guys either. So obviously you have to know your manager and know your league and who's hard to trade with and who's able to get a good deal done. But I'm trying to target the guys that I want as soon as possible if I know I'm going to be a playoff contender. And if I'm a seller, then I usually want to wait, because then that's when people get desperate and you can get more lopsided deals where, okay, it's the week before the championship in a dynasty league. If your trade window is still open, then like, sell your guys for extra picks because this guy might put him the edge over for the championship type of thing. But if I'm a buyer, I usually like to be early.
I think I haven't played in Keeper / Dynasty yet, so I'll defer to you guys on this one. Let's move on to the last question. Frank on Discord asked, "Is it too early to panic on Clayton Keller? He's been doing nothing the past few weeks." I feel like we covered this a bit in our last mailbag, but just the Utah in general, I'm not panicked. Keller, out of everyone in Utah, is the one I'm least panicked about. I know that you have higher expectations of him, and Utah will turn it around. They should be one of the top power plays and offensives in the league. And Keller, I would easily say he's going to be point per game for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and like, okay, not to be a downer on this and end the episode on a sad note, but his dad did just pass away, which is obviously very sad. And the fact that he's playing right now is kind of surprising, to be honest. So I would expect it to be like, in addition to Utah just being, not necessarily good over the past few weeks, it's also going to definitely weigh on him. But like, as the season goes on, they're a very good team that's going to figure it out, and he's the top offensive player there. So I think it's like weather the storm for a little bit longer, and then things are going to look up for the whole team, and he'll be at the forefront.
Okay, rapid fire 2. Would you rather for Clayton Keller? Would you rather
3?
him
Make
or
it 3?
Okay, or Zach Hyman?
Keller,
really?
Keller.
I feel like that's a spicy one because Hyman hasn't hit his peak yet either.
Yep.
Okay, so then I have to go up. I thought Hyman was already pretty high.
I think it's Keller easily over Hyman, actually. I don't really think that's close.
Okay, Keller or Batherson?
I think
you're getting a lot of power
Keller.
play from Batherson.
Yeah, I really believe in the Utah offense to turn it on.
Okay, what about Caulfield?
Yeah, I think at this point I'd probably go Caulfield over Keller.
I'm going Caulfield as well.
But maybe we're just homers.
I think I'd go Batherson as well if I'm in a category bangers league as well, mostly because I think confidently I can say Batherson will get more power play points and I think more hits. So
yeah, I could see that. I just do think that Keller is performing way below his normal.
He's a phenomenal player, and at a certain point he will average a point per game per season.
Yeah.
It's just like his averages at the end of the year will look wonky because he's had a bad stretch. So
yeah. All right, let's wrap this thing up.
Thank you to everybody for listening to this episode. Another great one. Thank you to my esteemed co-hosts for co-hosting. If you enjoyed the show, follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. Subscribe on YouTube and give this episode a thumbs up, a like. And all of the links to our socials are in the podcast description. Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, X. We are there. So give us a follow on those. Take it away, Ernie.
Ba-ba-da-bow-bow, Banger Management Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Woo!
Woo! Woo!